I'm Shelley Beckley, and I'm going to be your chef instructor today. We're going to learn about a variety of cuts of vegetables. We're studying out of the On Cooking book, chapter 6 today, Nice Skills, pages 94 through 96. So if you need more information, please refer to those pages. So let's get started. First, we're going to begin with the julienne cut, which is a matchstick cut. It's an 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch by 2 inches. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick a vegetable. Today I've chosen a green pepper, and we're going to take and cut the seeds off, and we want to make sure that we are keeping our fingers tucked so that we don't cut the tips of our fingers, and we're just going to trim straight down. Turn the other end and keeping the tip of the knife on the board, cutting straight down. Now, we're not going to waste these. We're going to save these ends and we'll use them in a salad or something later. So I'm just going to put them to the side here. Next, we're going to take and cut our pepper in half so that we can take the seeds out. So I'm going to take my paring knife and just trim that off. And once we get the seeds out, then we're going to take and cut that into strips. So then I'm going to take the pepper, and it's easiest if we cut it with the skin side out, and we're going to cut it 1/8 of an inch thick. So I have a ruler here, and we're going to cut it to just 1/8 of an inch. So right about here is our 1/2 inch, and we're going to cut it, that's 1/4 of an inch, so 1/8 of an inch thick. Okay, so again, keeping our fingers tucked and cutting straight across, and 1/8 of an inch thick. Okay. Then once we have our strips cut, these are called julienne. Okay. Once we have our 1/8 of an inch strips cut, then we are going to turn them the other way, and we're going to cut them 1/8 of an inch again. Okay. And what we are doing now is cutting brunoise, or what they call a fine dice. And so if we took it to the ruler, 1/8 of an inch. Next, we're going to use an onion, and we're going to cut a small dice, which is 1/4 of an inch cubed. So taking our onion, we're going to trim off the end, and we're going to cut it in half. And then we want to take off the outer skin to clean it. Now notice I did not trim the root end of the onion. We're going to leave that on because that will prevent the onion from watering and making us water and cry. Okay, so once we have the outer layer off, we're going to take and make small cuts into the onion, about 1/4 of an inch thick. So doing this now, that root also helped to hold our onion together. Now that we've made 1/4 inch slices into the onion, we can now go 1/4 inch across. And again, keeping our fingers tucked and the tip, try to keep the tip of the knife on the board. And now we have our small diced onions. So if we put them on our ruler, they will be 1/4 inch wide. Okay. 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. And that again is our small diced. Next, I would like to show you the medium diced. So we're going to take the other half of the onion and we're going to take that outer layer off, and again we have the root attached to help hold it together. So now this time, because we're doing a medium dice, we want 1/2 inch slices. So 1/2 inch across. Okay. And then 1/2 inch across. And that will give us our medium dice. Our large dice, I'm going to use a carrot. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to peel the carrot so that it is clean. And again, we're not going to throw these peelings out. We can use that to make our stock. And that will be in another lesson where we learn how to make a stock using bones and mirepoix, onions, carrots, and celery. So now that we've peeled our carrot, again, keeping our fingers tucked, we're going to trim off the ends of the carrot. And we can use those ends also in our stock. Okay. So when we talk about the julienne, they are 2 inches long. So what we're going to do is we are going to cut our carrot into 2 inch lengths. Okay. So once we have those cut into 2 inch length, now we are going to take and cut the sides of the carrots so that they don't roll around. Make it flat, easier to cut, tuck in our fingers, cut the sides all the way around. This will give us a straight sticks. Okay. So now that we have our sides all trimmed up and it's straight edges, now we are going to cut it 1/2 inch thick. Okay. Once we have it 1/2 inch thick, now we're going to cut it the other way by 1/2 inch. So now we have 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch square. Our next cut that we are going to do is a rondelle. And you can use this on cucumbers or carrots, anything round. Pretty much what you are doing is going to cut it straight across. And some people may call it just being a slice of vegetable. So I have here a cucumber that we are going to use, and we can trim the edges of it. And depending on how thick a slice you want, basically it's straight across. Now that might be good for in a garden salad or something like that. Some people may like to be a little fancier. They might like crinkle cut for in a veggie tray. So I have a crinkle cutter here. So we're just going to take it right across on the cucumber and make some thicker slices so that it holds our dip and it gives it a nice little ridge. Again, those are rondelles. The next cut we're going to learn is chateau. It's 7 equal cuts on the sides of the vegetable. They use this for plate presentation. Today we're going to use a carrot to show that demonstration. So we're going to take a section of our carrot that we cut into a 2-inch length, and we're going to take our thin bladed paring knife and we're just going to cut 7 equal sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So basically, they look like a little football with 7 equal sides. Again, that is called a chateau. And lastly, I would like to show you how to cut a chiffonade. So I have here some fresh mint, and we are going to learn how to cut that into strips. So the first thing we're going to do is I've taken the stem of mint leaf out, and we're going to just pull them leaves off of the stem. Okay, then once we do that, we will take and lay those leaves on top of each other. And then we want to take and roll them up real tight so that they kind of look like what they call a cigarello. And we're going to take our chef knife, again keeping your fingers tucked, tip of the knife on the board, and we're going to cut them into thin strips. Okay. Now they would use these in things like soups or salads to add extra flavor, or maybe even in a mojito to give it that extra mint flavor. You can do that with any herbs. So I would just like to do a recap of what we've done today as far as the different varieties of cuts. So our first cut was a julienne, which was an 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch, 2 inches long. Our second cut was brunoise, which is an 1/8 of an inch cubed. Then we had small dice, 1/4 of an inch cubed. Medium dice, which is 1/2 inch cubed. Large dice, which is 3/4 of an inch cubed. Our rondelles, which we did crinkle cut, which is just straight across cutting. And then we had the chateau, 7 equal sides. And finally the chiffonade, which we took fresh herbs, rolled it up like a cigarello, and then cut it into strips to add to a salad or to our soups for extra flavoring. So this completes our lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the kitchen.